6:40. Let's take you through the papers this morning, should we? We'll start with the Times. It says the Palace and Netflix have clashed over the Sussex's soap opera.
The Daily Mail reports that royal insiders were particularly upset about criticisms of the late Queen in H&M's Netflix scenario.
Stop this royal circus, declares the Mirror, as it reports Prince William was meant to be utterly furious at claims in the series about poor treatment of Meghan.
The Sun suggests the Sussexes tarnish the legacy of the late Queen and adds the royal family are in a state of sadness.
Meanwhile, the Eye says the government's new anti-strike laws could increase the number of walkouts.
Should we go inside the papers now? Joining us this morning, then, is senior reporter from the Eye newspaper, Benjamin Butterworth, and broadcaster Liz Kershaw. And a very warm welcome.
Good morning.
Right, we're going to start, I guess, with the Netflix thing. Calling it a documentary sort of is pushing the borders, isn't it?
Well, I haven't seen anything but the trailer, and I won't be watching it because I don't want to up their viewing figures so they can cream off more advertising revenue. I'm sure Netflix boardroom, they're all going, oh, they're not watching it in Northamptonshire. Oh, I hope Asda's still advertising us. Anyway, in principle, the story is on the front page of every paper, as you know, different angles and interpretations. The one on the front of the Times is actually about there being no member of the royal family speaking in the documentary, and Netflix maintaining that they were invited to take part, and the royal family are saying, when? Show us the evidence. And Netflix is saying both the offices of the now King and the now Prince of Wales were asked if they'd like to take part, and the Palace is denying it. So that's what the front's about. But I was reading the Times this morning when I woke up, and this article here by somebody who has watched it, Hilary Rose, is absolutely hilarious. So her opening paragraph is, on Tuesday night, Harry and Meghan told a credulous audience at an awards ceremony in New York that they were advocates of healing. Oh. Yesterday, Netflix released 3 hours of beautifully lit navel-gazing motivated by spite, revenge and greed. Although I am British and therefore horrid, so maybe I've misjudged it. And it goes on, I've watched more interesting in-flight maps. I watched it with subtitles, which helpfully told me, as it began, that what I was listening to was somber music. So the music she's saying is really cleverly used. And she says just towards the end, we get it. It's in minor chords, which evoke poignancy and sadness. By the end, she says we get to major chords, and it ends with "Stand by me, Benny King." So it all seems very cynical. And she says it's mostly the way they speak is like baffling Harry and Meghan. It's like gobbledygook. It evokes the response A. Early on, Harry says of his mother, I think she had a lived experience of how she was struggling.
A lived experience.
Exactly. You are, love.
A lived experience of how she was struggling.
Yeah, so he could have just said she was struggling, couldn't he? But it's all sort of California, psychobabble, gobbledygook is what? Beautifully shot, she says, beautifully produced. But I just advise anybody to read that article in the Times. The headline, if you want to Google it, is, please make it stop. I can't take any more of this self-centred nonsense.
That's how I felt. I got to halfway through episode 2 and thought, make it stop, please. I can't take it.
Yeah, I mean, if I'm a bit tired this morning, it's because I was up watching it, and I got to the 3rd episode, and I just had to give in. The thing is, you know, on the one hand, it's not the hit on the royal family that some might have feared, or at least the first 3 of the 6 episodes aren't. It's quite saccharine. There's not a lot happening. It's lots of beautiful shots. But what annoyed me is there's lots of shots that are made to look like it's on an iPhone, yet clearly from the lighting and the quality of the camera, it isn't on an iPhone at all. They're just trying to make you feel like you're getting such an insight. But the front page of the Telegraph says Sussex's TV show claims are a direct hit on the Queen's legacy. And there are a couple of points that feel a bit like that. So the one that the Telegraph draws on is that Afua Hirsch, who is a left-leaning writer who often talks about race issues, she talks about the Commonwealth and the fact that it was as bad at enslaving black people as the Deep South, our own Deep South, she calls it. And then she goes on to say that the Commonwealth now is like Empire 2.0. And so that has been considered very provocative because the Queen obviously treasured the Commonwealth and moved it long past the ideas of slavery abolished 200 years ago. Of course, there's no way Harry and Meghan didn't know that comment was in there. I'm sure they selected her as a voice they admire. And so that seems quite provocative.
She's wrong anyway, because two members of the Commonwealth, if you're talking about the British Empire and colonising places, voluntarily joined the Commonwealth.
Yes, they were never
nothing
part
to
of the
do with
empire.
it. Rwanda, many people don't know Rwanda applied to join the Commonwealth after its civil war, and Mozambique, which was Portuguese, but they wanted to be part of an organisation which promotes goodwill, friendship, trade. So Afua, as usual, is talking absolute nonsense.
You know, I used to work with Afua, and she's a lovely person, but she cannot see anything that isn't through the spectacle of race.
Relentlessly got a chip on her shoulder.
Is that what Meghan has, do you think?
I mean, you know, I'm very conscious that I don't feel like it's for white people to simply write off the experience that someone like Meghan Markle has. And, you know, Doria, who's Meghan Markle's mother, is in the film, talking about how she said to her daughter as she went into the royal family in the earliest stages, saying, you know, this is racism coming around the corner, you need to see it for what it is. And clearly they will face racism, they have experienced it throughout their lives, and I think they're entitled to tell their story of that.
There was no racist backlash here in the UK to her.
I mean, I think the one that is in this documentary and is often quoted is the Daily Mail website headline of Straight Outta Compton, you know, which she wasn't at all. And I think there are racist undertones to that. I think it'd be ridiculous to say otherwise. But that's not to say that the Commonwealth is Empire 2.0. And I think in some ways that undermines what they're saying. But there's one other point, and you mentioned it earlier, about the curtsy, where she does sort of a cartoonish curtsy and then gives this look to the camera and to Harry that just felt to me like someone out of Mean Girls. You know, I tweeted last night, she kind of looks like a playground bully, you know, like she's mocking the Queen, which is incredibly inappropriate.
I saw that clip, his face at that point, he's sort of disowning it, isn't he?
Yeah, I mean, Prince Harry looks pretty uncomfortable at one or two points during this.
Tell him what I said in the green room.
I daren't.
I tell you what, there's no doubting he absolutely adores her.
Yes, that's what I was saying, but in broadcast terms, I couldn't use the words I used.
According to Giles Brandreth's book, Her Late Majesty, when they first got together, said, I think he's a little bit too in love with her. You know, maybe he can't see the problems for the good things. But look, I mean, you know, there are 3 more episodes which will come out in about a week and a half, I think. And I suspect that the bombshells will be in there because there's all the publicity for the first 3 episodes because it's the first 3. If you're going to say something cutting, you're going to put it in the second part. So I think the King has to brace himself.
But one of the papers today, I saw it earlier, I can't recall which one it is, I'll find it, as a montage of all the front pages at the time when they got engaged. You know, it's all like new blood for the royal family, a breath of fresh air, you know, that modern princess kind of thing. And it's pretty striking when it's collated. And do you remember, Stephen, we were on Sky and we were so excited. You were going to Windsor to be on site. I thought I was going. I bought a new dress, especially then they said, no, you're in the studio. But everybody was, I still wore the dress in the studio, but everybody was really
excited.
No, to bits.
Just the same as when William married Kate.
No difference at all at that stage. So what on earth went wrong?
I do think that Daily Mail line was disgusting and overtly racist, but that's somebody on the night shift on Mail Online, presumably. Not good.
Well, the Mail's having a right go at them now. Really, knives out.
Let's just have a look at one more story. We've got 2 minutes left, Liz, to look at the Mirror. Mick Lynch, good old Mick Lynch, saying the unions are not the enemy.
Right, OK, well, I did say a few weeks ago that if you gave non-economically active people in this country a 10% pay rise, i.e. the sick, the unemployed and the pensioners, you'd have a massive backlash from those in the middle who are actually going out to work. They'd be saying, why can't we have at least 10%? And this is what we've got now. I've got a load of figures on what the different jobs on the railways earn, what the median is, what the rest is. There's a shorter time, I'll save that for the next slot. But I think that I'd just like to say about the unions, the one that really gets me, and we're talking about getting home for Christmas, the railways are really picking the time, but the border control and other workers in the airline industry, if they stop people who haven't been abroad to see their relatives for 2 or 3 years from going at Christmas and New Year, I think that's really peevish. They know exactly what they're doing. And if we're all in it together, well, I'm afraid I have no sympathy at all on that front.
Okay.
I mean, it don't bother me. I'm only going near Milton Keynes.
You have to fly there.
No.
All right, Liz, Benjamin, we've got to leave it there for now, but we'll see you in the next hour.